What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Knives of the Round Table. My name is Marco, and today we're going to be talking about the Hinderer Knives XM18 Skinny. Now, the XM18 is the flagship of the Hinderer lineup, and because it is, there's an abundance of different options that you can get on the knife. There's probably 5 or 6 different grinds. There's 2 different finishes. There's probably 4 or 5 different colors that you can get. And then there's the option to personalize it with hardware options such as what you see here. But on top of all of that, on top of everything else, he makes 2 versions of the knife in addition to the standard one. And one is denoted by what you see here. You see the S right there, and that means that it is the Skinny. So there's the standard version of the XM18, there's a skinny version, and there's a fatty version. The fatty hasn't been made in probably some time. I haven't seen fatties, new fatties drop in probably the last 2-3 years, probably more than that. But he makes a skinny version of the knife, and for some people this is the best version of the knife. I don't agree with them. I think the standard version of the knife is better, but I do have a skinny in my collection. So let me give you a tour of this particular version of the knife, and I'm gonna point out which portions of the knife I have personalized or made my own. Hinderer's motto is make it your own, so I've made it my own. So the original knife, this is a 2-tone. Let me see if I can clean it a little bit here. This is a 2-tone. It's satin on the flat and then black DLC on the blade. And DLC is kind of hard to capture on camera. The back is black DLC. Okay. Now it came with black hardware. Okay, and you can see I've added some blue hardware, blue screws, and a purple filler tab and clip. And then it came with a black liner and a black G10 scale and black hardware on this, and I changed it to blue hardware and a blue titanium texture scale. Okay, so it doesn't change the size or the structure of the knife. It does change the weight. Okay, but it's part of what I enjoy by Hinderer, to just customize it and personalize it and do some fun stuff with it. So so the tour of the knife is that this is the slicer grind in a skinny blade, and I will show you a comparison to the regular size Hinderer, so you can see the differences. But this one is in a slicer grind. You've got the ergonomics that make the XM18 so good. Okay, you still have, this one is also one of the latest generation, Gen 6 of tri-weight pivot system. The 3 circles interconnected means it's a tri-weight pivot. You've got the lock bar stabilizer, which acts as the over travel stop, and then you've got a lock bar insert. That is what you have here with the XM18. This is the Skinny. So let me give you some size comparisons here. Again, in length, it is identical to the standard XM18. So for those of you who know that one, I will show you here in a second, but it's very much a full-size knife, right? It is right in length. It is very much like what you see here on the Para 2, but obviously the blade to handle ratio on the Para 2, you can see the sharpened blade like much longer, probably at least a 1/4 inch, closer to a 1/2 inch of more blade length for the same length of knife. Now you compare it to the bug out. That's the full-size bug out. This is the mini bug out. Okay, but what I show you here is more than the bug out is probably a bad size comparison, but what I do want to show you is the thickness here. So that is the thickness of the XM18 Skinny versus the bug out. So it's not quite as skinny as a bug out, as you can see here, but it's getting there. It's probably not much thicker than it. And obviously the size comparison that is probably the most adequate is against a real XM18. So this is the standard version of the XM18. Obviously I've made it my own as well, but this is the size and thickness and everything of the regular XM18. This is also a slicer grind. So as you can see, they are identical in length, okay? But obviously the differences come in the thickness. So let me show you here. I'm not going to be able to stand it on its end because of the lanyard, but here you go. That's the difference in thickness. Let me put it side by side here. You can see the thickness difference right there. Okay, I'm gonna try and put the scales side to side. So it is probably a good 1/8 of an inch thicker on the standard one. And one of the things that that a lot of people will care about. Let me see if I can show you. You see the thickness of the blade. Okay, so the thickness of the blade is one of the things. It's got both thinner scales, thinner blade, so it makes for a thinner knife. So let me start with the review. And a lot of the things that I reviewed on the XM18 apply to the Skinny. So I'm not going to go into the fact that you have a bunch of options on the XM18. I'm going to review this knife in particular. So, and I'm going to try and contrast it to the regular XM18. So let's start with ergonomics. And the ergonomics on this one feel very, very good. In my large hands, I still think that the ergonomics on the regular XM18 are a little bit better. It fills my hand just a tad bit better. This one, the ergonomics feel very good. The contouring that they've done in this direction feel really good, but it is a Skinny, and in large hands, this feels very much like what you feel with the Grimsmo Norseman, right? Where you have very good contouring in this direction, and it feels skinny in that direction. Okay, it feels very much in line with that. So I would say that the ergonomics on this are very good, but I think I'm gonna stop just shy of excellent, because I think that the ergonomics on the regular XM18 are just excellent. They're outstanding. Now, one thing that's different is that this one, as you can see, has a forward choil that you can choke up on. Okay, and I enjoy that a lot. I like my knives with a forward choil. I get closer to cutting. This one does not. It just has like this kind of, I don't know if I would call it a sharpening choil, probably would, but it doesn't have that. So the Skinny, I'm a little bit further from the action as I would on the regular one. I'm not sure if there's a Skinny version with a forward choil. There might be. There's just all options in the Hinderer lineup. So I would say that the ergonomics is very, very good, just shy of excellent, because I would give the excellent grade to the regular XM18. Now cutting, that's where this one is a little bit better, right? Obviously it has, especially the slicer grind, this one has a thicker blade, so this one will go through material a lot easier. Obviously the regular one is a much more robust knife, but just to give you an idea, this is the blade thickness of the Skinny is thinner than the Para 2, and the Para 2, you know, the blade, it's very tall, right? But the XM18, as you can see, on this area of the knife, it doesn't come out to as thin of an edge, but it's where you might be carving right here or doing some heavier work closer to your hand. This is where you need more strength on the blade. And what I like about the slicer grind is that it varies, right? So obviously it's a flat grind from here to here, so it gets down to a much more thin edge on this side. So this one on the slicer grind, it actually pays very good homage to its name, right? It's a slicer, and I think the skinny version of the knife does a really, really good job in cutting and pushing through material, okay? Cutting through cardboard, those kinds of things. It'll do a very, very nice job, more so than the regular XM18. The XM18 is more of a heavy duty type knife, something that you want to throw in your pocket and don't worry about it. The Skinny, I wouldn't say that it's that it's a light duty, but it is lighter duty than the regular, and especially on the slicer grind. You know, you probably want to be, I'm not going to say careful, but more careful than you are with the regular XM18. But I would say I would give the cutting, especially for my needs, I would like to have this blade on these handles. I guess that's what I would. That's kind of the, on these scales. I guess I would like the thicker scales with the thinner blade is the combination that I would like. I guess we we were always looking for something that we can't have. Action. The action, you know, I've handled a few skinnies, and the action on my particular skinny is it's a little bit stiff. I've had it for a while, but I think the lock bar tension is too high on this one, because even though it deploys really nicely, it doesn't drop shut like many other skinnies that I've felt. You know, if you take my standard XM18, it just drops shut, and they're both running on bearings. This one, I mean, look at that. It's just, the action is incredible, and this one, you know, the lock bar feels a lot stiffer, and I think that the pressure of the lock bar doesn't allow it to drop as well. So I don't enjoy the action of my particular skinny. I've enjoyed the action of other skinnies, but the one on my particular one, it's a bit too stiff, and it hurts on, and it's, I guess it doesn't hurt, but it hurts the knife in the fact that, you know, I've always said that the flipper tab on Hinderer knives, it's too hooky, right? It points up, and it hurts your finger when you're flicking it, okay? But since this is a thinner blade, the pain is more real, because this one has a stiffer detent or more pressure on the lock bar, so it takes more force, and because it's skinnier and it's hookier, well, it's as hooky but thinner, then I find myself not carrying the skinny as much as the regular one. It's just not as enjoyable for me to fidget with this one, and I do fidget with my knives. So this one, out of my Hinderer lineup, this is the one that gets carried the least. I've always come this close to selling it. I haven't, because it's a fairly rare version of the knife. The two-tone black DLC is fairly rare. I mean, not completely rare, but fairly rare. And then you know, there's not a lot of skinny scales, and this one in the texture titanium is probably one of the rarer ones. So now, fit and finish, I would say that it is Rick Hinderer excellence, right? And the fact of the tri-weight pivot system, I think it's incredible. There's the fact that you, over ages, right? The XM18 has existed for a very long time, and you can take scales from any age and put it on any age knife, and hardware from any iteration and put it on any other iteration. I think that just speaks to the level of quality and machining that you get from Rick Hinderer. The fact that you can interchange hardware from one skinny to another skinny. Well, and that's one thing that I want to clarify. The hardware on the skinny is different from the hardware on the regular one, right? The back spacers, I believe it's compatible with the 3-inch version of the knife, but it is not compatible with the full-size version of the knife, or the the regular version of the knife. This spacers will not fit on the regular one, on the Skinny. So I think the fit and finish on Rick Hinderer knives, I'm a big fan of Rick Hinderer. I do think that in this one, for whatever reason, I think the lock bar tension was a bit overdone, and you know, it's one of the things that they will not service in Rick Hinderer. They don't adjust detent strength. Is one of the things that they state on their website, so I can't really send it in for that. But I would say that, you know, the coating, the grind, the finish, the attention to detail, and all of the things that you can do with it, you know, with personalizing and making it your own. I think that's one of the coolest things that you can do to a knife, and especially directly from the manufacturer, right? Because yes, you know, a pair or two you can customize to your heart's content, right? There's aftermarket for days, but most of it, if not all of it, is not through Spyderco. All of this stuff that I put on, with the exception, the only exception is these screws. The knife comes with these horrible Phillips head screws that I don't understand why he hasn't gone to the nicer screws. But these are from TI Connector, and they are very, very cool screws. So, but everything else, the handle nuts, the pivot screw, the filler tab, the clip, the hardware, the back spacer, the spacers back here, all of that is 100% Rick Hinderer. So, like I said, I think that for cutting, this one is better than any of my other Hinderers. I like the ergonomics and the regular version better, but for a lot of people that don't want you know, your hand to be as full, or if you want a lighter version of the knife or a slicier version of the knife, I think the Skinny is probably a very good choice. If you want you know, something that, I wouldn't call this thing to disappear in your pocket. It's a fairly large knife. There's no internal milling on this, so and it's not as light, but definitely lighter and you know, and skinnier than the regular one. So if you've seen the XM18 and wanted just something that wasn't as chunky and was a little bit slicier, this is an excellent choice for my hands, large size hands, and for the action that I get out of the regular one, I like the regular one better. Well, guys, hopefully this has been helpful to you. If it has, then like and subscribe, only if you think that I earned your subscription. Don't get notified. Nobody likes to get emails about notifications. You know where to find my content if you want to see anything. And until I see you at the next one, take care.